Louis Blues are one of the hottest teams in the league. We are going to be joined by Josh Hyman of Locked On Blues to talk about their extremely exciting start.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right. Welcome to the Locked On NHL podcast, Monday edition. Gil Martin, as always, hosting. And want to thank everybody for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Right now, it's my pleasure to welcome in the co-host of Locked On Blues, Josh Hyman. Josh, your team is off to an incredible start this season. What do you think has been the biggest key to their early success?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a really fun start. I think there were a lot of high expectations going in. The roster looked really, really strong on paper, and I think that's been consistent with the past few seasons. And I think this year is no different. And the team came out and sort of, I think, it surpassed my expectations. And I think a lot of fans' expectations as well, especially with Tarasenko trade rumors sort of muddling the excitement for the regular season. But with that all died down and Vladimir Tarasenko having one of the hottest starts he's had in his career, I think it goes to show that the offense to this team has sort of been carrying the weight at the start. But lately we've seen a sort of a reverse story in where the defense has been carrying the weight of the St. Louis Blues. So I think overall it's depth and consistency because they've had a lot of man games lost due to COVID and injury already. Ryan O'Reilly's back in the lineup tonight after missing 4 games. So they've had to really put their depth to the test, and it's shined so far. Contributions up and down the lineup, and that's led to this hot start.
Talk to me about Tarasenko. Does the fast start change anything as far as whether he stays or goes? Do you think that the desire to get out of town is motivating his strong play? How has this all fit in so far this season?
Yeah, we've talked about this so much on Locked On Blues, and one of the things that I've been saying lately that I've been trying to keep in mind is that we had an 8-month-long situation where Tarasenko requested a trade, and now here we are. And all we sort of had was 4 tweets and 2 athletic articles to sort of formulate our entire outlook of the trade situation. And now, obviously, considering that he's still out there playing literally as we speak, goes to show that it wasn't as serious and drastic and destroyed relationships as we might have been led to believe at the beginning. Do I think that it's all happy ending, 91 will be in the rafters someday? Not entirely. But at this point in time, with the team having the start that they're having and Tarasenko having the start that he's having and looking as good as he does on the power play and having strong line mates that he seems to have really good chemistry with, there's really no rush for either side, I think, to accelerate this. I could totally see, if at the trade deadline they're still, firing all cylinders and Tarasenko still does want out, if that's sort of your worst case scenario, I think it would be something that would happen in the offseason. But unless this team shows any signs of slowing down, there's no way Tarasenko gets dealt anytime during this regular season. I hope that's not just healthy optimism, but to me, that's what makes the most sense.
One thing that's been great for the Blues on both sides is special teams. Second in the league on the power play, second on the league in the PK. What's been the key to the success there?
Yeah, I think the Blues have, especially recently, struggled at 5v5, but historically they've always had a lot of success on special teams. I know during the Cup run they were really, really strong as well on the penalty kill. And I think that goes to Craig Berube's system. You got guys like Oscar Sundqvist, who came over in a throwaway trade, who hasn't been playing this season so far, but turned into one of the best penalty killers on this team. And I think Craig Berube does a really good job of bringing defensive ability out of his two-way forwards and more of his two-way players. And it just seems like when they're on the power play, they're on the penalty kill, they're not really letting up a whole ton of high danger scoring opportunities. It's no real one guy that's going out and just making life difficult for opposing power plays. It's just they're playing strong position based hockey and just making it very difficult to get high danger scoring opportunities. And they've also been taking a ton of penalties, which has probably helped their numbers. But at the same time, until it becomes an issue with teams scoring a ton of power play goals, I think that the system is working, and it's only going to be more important as the season goes on. These games down the stretch, and especially playoff games, it can come down to power play goals and penalty kills. So it's a strong sign to start the season for sure.
Talk to me about Robert Thomas. Not a household name necessarily, but off to a pretty impressive start this year.
He's on the back of this jersey. He's a guy that I think for the longest time has shown the potential, and the stat sheet is sort of the last thing that shows up for him. He's always making the right passes and in the right position. Not necessarily a primary goal scorer. That's not his biggest strength. He can obviously get him if he has the opportunity, but his biggest strength is finding the right pass, making the right read. And I think it was sort of tough for him in previous seasons to prove that statistically, just because he wasn't getting the ice time. He wasn't necessarily playing with as talented line mates. But this year, with the depth that the team has and sort of the COVID absence with O'Reilly and the opportunity to move up in the lineup, he's proved that when he's playing significant, consistent ice time, and when he's not just getting the opportunity to set up one pretty pass a game, when he's doing it pretty much every other shift, the points start coming as well. The youth of this team overall has been huge. Jordan Kyrou with another huge start to the season, and Robert Thomas again up there with near the team leading points. I think he only has one goal, but he's racking up the assists. So it's been very inspiring to see the youth start the season so hot for the Blues.
What has been the difference for Jordan Binnington this year? He's off to a much better start than he was a year ago.
Yeah, I think a big thing with Jordan Binnington is confidence. And I think the defense overall at times last year lacked structure, and that led to Jordan Binnington sort of losing a little bit of trust in the team and feeling like he had to make the heroic saves a little too often. And I think this season, like I said, the Blues have been doing a really good job overall of preventing the high danger scoring chances. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not, robbing guys left and right, because he is. But I think when those chances are coming few and far between, rather than seemingly every other play, odd man rush, it allows him to settle in. I think it goes back to structure overall. I think the Blues are just playing really sound hockey, and at the start of the season, they were scoring 6-7 goals a game, which let Jordan Binnington settle in because he's been so much stronger in these past few games than he was at the start of the year. It just helped that the Blues were putting up 5.5 goals a game for the first 2 weeks of the season. So when he inevitably allowed 4 goals on some tricky shots, it didn't hurt him too much, and he was allowed to settle in. And now he's throwing pitching shutouts and playing really, really strong hockey. So I think the biggest thing for him is he kind of had a little bit of leeway for his confidence to build, and it's working wonders so far.
Give me the name of a player who's been a big contributor to the Blues' success this year, who doesn't always show up in the box score, who, a casual NHL fan may not recognize, but someone who watches the team game in and game out will point to that player and say, yeah, he's been a difference maker.
Oh, that's a good question. I think there's been a lot of those, and I think that's been sort of the recipe for success that the Blues have had. But one that really sticks out for me is Ivan Barbershev. He's had a lot of bottom six time over the past few seasons and has looked really, really strong. In that time, fills the Craig Berube role perfectly, two-way forward, monster on the puck, never an easy puck battle when he's going in there. And this year he's had an increased role, playing with Tarasenko and I want to say Buchnevich at times, sort of that Russian connection. And he has taken the extra ice time and flown with it. He had a point streak going to start the season. I think it was 5 or 6 games. He's just everywhere on the puck, flying up and down the ice, always working the hardest out of everyone out there. And that's not a knock to everyone else. That's just because how hard he skates up and down the ice, going in for puck battles in the corner, something that, it seems like defensemen skating over there sort of casually. And all of a sudden, here comes Ivan Barbershev, making them work just that much harder, make that pass that much quicker. So he's been one of those guys where every time he's on the ice, it's either a defensive play or an offensive chance that has sort of come. But he's been a really good contributor for the Blues for years in the past. And I think he's been one of the guys that takes advantage of the early COVID absences and injuries, and he's looked really, really strong.
All right. This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Want an all-star team? You need an all-star hiring partner? You need Indeed. Don't struggle on your own to find quality candidates. Indeed can help you hire the right people right now. Indeed partners with you every step of the hiring process so you can find talent with the skills you need through tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. Indeed makes it easier for star applicants to shine with over 135 assessment tests from cooking to coding. Get started right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/locked-on. Get a $75 credit at Indeed.com/locked-on, Indeed.com/locked-on. Offer valid through December 31st. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. So before we let you go, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you on social media and where they can find the podcast?
Awesome. Yeah. You can find me on social media at Josh Hyman NHL and my co-host Tommy T. Welcher 15. All our socials, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Locked On Blues. And then we just started YouTube about a month ago. We've been doing all our episodes live on YouTube at Locked On Blues. So definitely subscribe to us there. We like to do live stream episodes with chat. So if you want to come in and chat with us while we do it, that's a lot of fun. Make sure you hit that subscribe button there.
All right, Josh Hyman, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.